Is the current geopolitical pressure on Iran reaching a turning point? Some analysts are calling recent developments a checkmate moment for the Iranian leadership. But what exactly does that mean? Is Iran really cornered? Or is this simply another phase in a much longer geopolitical struggle involving Israel, the United States, and other regional players? And the biggest question of all, if Iran faces mounting pressure, how might it respond? Tonight we break down the strategy, the politics, and the possible consequences of what some observers are calling a geopolitical checkmate. Before we dive into today's topic, let's briefly connect it with our previous discussion. In our last video, we examined how rising tensions and economic pressures were affecting global energy markets and geopolitical stability. We also discussed how regional conflicts can create ripple effects across the global economy. Today we're looking at another critical question. Could the current pressure on Iran represent a strategic turning point in Middle Eastern geopolitics? The term checkmate comes from the game of chess. It describes a moment when one player's options become extremely limited. In geopolitics, analysts sometimes use this term metaphorically when a country faces multiple forms of pressure at the same time. These pressures may include economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, military deterrence, internal political challenges. When these pressures overlap, some observers argue that governments face difficult strategic choices. But geopolitics rarely works as cleanly as a chessboard. Countries often adapt in ways that surprise their rivals. One of the biggest challenges facing Iran in recent years has been economic pressure. Sanctions imposed by Western governments have affected trade, financial systems, and access to international markets. These measures are designed to influence policy decisions without direct military confrontation. Economic restrictions can create significant challenges for any country's economy. However, governments often attempt to adapt through alternative trade partnerships, regional cooperation, or domestic economic adjustments. This is why analysts continue debating how effective sanctions really are in the long term. Another factor influencing Iran's strategic situation is regional security dynamics. Tensions involving Israel have shaped Middle Eastern geopolitics for many years. Both countries view regional security through very different strategic lenses. Israel emphasizes deterrence and rapid defense capabilities. Iran often highlights strategic influence and regional partnerships. Because of these differing perspectives, tensions between the two countries frequently influence diplomatic discussions across the region. Political leadership also plays an important role in shaping national strategy. In Iran, key decisions ultimately involve leadership figures, such as Ali Khamenei. Statements from leadership often emphasize resilience and resistance to external pressure. Meanwhile, Western policymakers frequently frame their strategies as efforts to encourage policy changes or negotiations. This exchange of messaging creates a complex diplomatic environment where both sides attempt to influence public perception as well as strategic outcomes. So the central question becomes, is Iran actually facing a geopolitical checkmate? Many experts argue the situation is far more complicated. Iran still holds several strategic advantages: geographic position near key energy routes, influence in regional political networks, a large domestic population and economy. These factors mean the country still retains multiple strategic options. This is why many analysts caution against oversimplifying geopolitical situations. In international politics, what looks like checkmate today can evolve into a completely different scenario tomorrow. Looking ahead, several possible scenarios could unfold. One possibility is increased diplomatic engagement aimed at reducing tensions. Another possibility is continued strategic competition between regional powers. A third possibility is gradual shifts in alliances and economic partnerships. Global powers such as the United States continue to monitor developments closely while working with international partners to maintain regional stability. Ultimately, the direction of events will depend on political decisions made by leaders across multiple countries. Moments of geopolitical tension often trigger dramatic headlines. but history shows that global politics usually evolves through long-term processes rather than single decisive moments. Diplomacy, economic shifts, and political changes gradually reshape international relationships. This means that while the current situation may feel like a turning point, the long-term outcome remains uncertain. The idea of a geopolitical checkmate is a powerful metaphor, but international politics rarely ends with a single decisive move. Instead, it unfolds through strategy, diplomacy, and shifting global dynamics. Understanding these forces helps us interpret the headlines and see the deeper patterns shaping world events. Now, I want to hear your perspective. Do you think the current pressure on Iran could lead to major diplomatic changes in the region, or will tensions between regional powers continue for years to come? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want clear, in-depth analysis of global geopolitics and international strategy, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for our next update.